A very good morning to all my dear students. Today we are just going to start our new poem from our literature person, that is A Legend of Northland. Okay, here the very title has been represented by Phoebe Carey, that a story of Northland. Here, legend doesn't mean to be for the person, but here legend means a kind of story, a famous story. So what kind of legend here? Here legend is a kind of ballad, and ballad is a you can say kind of poetry in which song or the stories are to be sung, right? So stories are to be sung, these are known as ballad. So this poem narrates the legend or the story of an old lady who angered Saint Peter because of her greed. Now at the Northland there is a story which was just famous, in which an old greedy lady who angered Saint Peter. Saint Peter was a person who is a saintly figure. So let's see and let's begin our poem, and we will come to stanza by stanza and we will come to know what kind of story of Northland is it. Now here, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few. Away in the Northland, it means here Phoebe Carey just telling us that there is a far and far away in the place named Northland where the hours of the day are few. It means in the Northland there is a kind of the day regulation in which the half of the day is considered to be the day hours, but here rather than other hours are considered to be the night. So and the night are so long in winter. Yes, as usual in India even we can say that the nights are so long in winter, and also here in Northland we are find that winters are long there, so they cannot sleep them through. It means that they are just getting tired of being sleepy in the night because it's too long, that it takes so many hours, and if, you can say average person can sleep up to 12 hours, right? So it's more than this. So in the first of the stanza we come to know that what kind of land is Northland, right? And the second paragraph we are moving towards says that where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and the children look like beards cub in the funny furry clothes. It means when there is a kind of place where the, you can say icebergs were just there, and there is a snow falling, especially in the Northland. So there you can say you will found there the reindeers. Reindeers are the, you can say, descendants of the deer, right? So reindeers are generally you have seen in the, you can say, in front of the cart of Santa Claus. That particular dysentery of deer is known as reindeer. To the sledges were the just those slides. I think I have to tell you that sledges is a kind of you can say ice surfing rackets on which you can surf on ice when it snows, right? So sledges is a kind of that particular thing in which Santa Claus is used to sit. After that we come to know, and the children look like bear's cub. It means how they can be the bear's cub. Bear's cub refers to that here that they have just wear out the funny and furry clothes because of so much winter, and they were just looking like so fat, right? So the children who were just used to live there, or the parents or the people you can say, they were just like to wear furry clothes, and because of that particular thing their appearance was just seems to be like bear. So here in the third of the line we can say that there is a use of simile. Simile is a poetic device in which we are using or we are comparing two dissimilar things with the use of like and as. Let's move towards the third paragraph, third stanza, and let's come to know what the story is all about. They tell me a curious story. Here, Faubourg says that the people of that particular land, that is Northland, they just told me the curious story. Interesting story just told by them to our poet. I don't believe it's true. I don't believe it means our Faubourg doesn't believe that particular story as true. And yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. But none of these we can learn a lesson out of that particular story. It may be true or not, but it will give you the lesson. Now, fourth stanza says, once when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it, preaching just as he did, Once upon a time, there was a person or the saint whose name was Peter, and he was just lived in the world below. It means he was just used to live under the world and walked about it. But one day he just walked outside that world, below world, preaching. Preaching means whenever you give some kind of moral, you can say, lessons through your conversation. If I tell the tale to you, just as he did, it means a saint's first work is to preach others. So we know. Here we are moving towards the fifth stanza and says he come to the door of a cottage because Saint Peter just came from the world below to preach the world generation. So he has just reached at the door of a cottage in traveling around the earth, where a little woman was making cakes. It means there was a little old woman, you can say, was making cakes. She was used to making cakes and baking them on the hearth. Hearth is a kind of, you can say, if I tell about in Hindi, hearth is a kind of bhatti, right? So she used to bake, or the furnace, you can say. Hearth is a kind of furnace in which cake are used to be baked. So after that, she was just making the cakes. Next stanza moving towards is that, and being faint was fasting. It means that was the day of fast of Saint Peter for the whole day. But this was the dawn of the day. That means he was just asked for the almost done. So he asked her. Who asked her? It means that particular Saint Peter asked the old woman from her store of cakes to give him a single one. Right? So here our Saint Peter has just asked for a piece of cake to that particular old woman lived in the Northland because he was hungry. So here the seventh stanza says, so she made a very little cake. But as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. It means when she was just preparing or baking the, you can say, cake, she took only small amount of the particular dough. But after that, when she looked at it, she thought that it's a large piece and she could not give it to the Saint Peter. Therefore, she needed another. It means she again make a dough or knead that, and still a smaller one. It means she is just so kind of greedy woman that she used to make a smaller and smaller one dough so that it will be the smaller like a piece of a cake, and she will give it to the Saint Peter. But she was greedy, and that particular smaller one will also look like a you can say bigger one when she turned it over and large at the first had done. It means she has just like that, I cannot give the huge piece of that cake to the Saint Peter, but that was not big, that was so small. It is the particularly showing that that particular woman was greedy. Next it says that then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled flat and baked it thin as wafer. But she couldn't part with that. It means finally she just cooked for the two time. It means she baked the cake for the two time, but at the particular time she was not satisfied, and she was so in the under greed that she cannot give such huge piece of cake that was already been in smaller size to Saint Peter.